I'd like to start off this video with a confession. I'm a Tasman. I'm so sorry. I know I should be better, but tornado spamming is it's just so much fun. So Multiversus is a platform fighter in the same vein as, Super Smash, and has just released on Steam this week, or should I say re-released, because it had originally launched in July of 2022 in an open beta where it had 2 seasons worth of content added, a bunch of events, but it eventually closed in March of 2023 after 9 months of a quote-unquote open beta. It stayed closed for over a year in maintenance mode, all the way until this week when it was relaunched into 1.0. To say that the way that this game was launched was unconventional is a bit of an understatement. The leading theory as to why this happened isn't much of a mystery, because during the beta period, the game suffered with player retention, and had it stayed popular, I reckon the beta would not have been shut down. But this is the 1.0 release now, and this is probably the game's last shot at getting everything right. Obviously, the best way to describe Multiversus is Smash, but with Warner Bros. Properties. And the roster is absolutely stacked with a big cast of recognizable characters, which is both amazing and kind of horrifying that Warner Bros. Owns so much stuff. What I appreciate is that the developers have opted for a pretty broad range of characters. We have Batman, Harley Quinn, Rick and Morty, but we also have some more deep cut characters such as Iron Giant or Gremlins and LeBron James for some reason. But with Warner Bros. It would be easy to just stack all of the most recognizable characters from this decade and just call it a day. But there is a good range of different eras here. Like, would anyone born in the last 18 years know who Taz is? I'd actually like to know, do kids still watch Looney Tunes, or is that not a thing anymore? Now, I could easily see how this game could be seen as a cynical, nostalgia-baiting money grab, and it kind of is. So let's get into it. The game begins with a really nice animated cutscene showing off a bunch of the characters interacting with each other. Right away, you can tell that this game understands the characters that they're dealing with. Like, Bugs Bunny is doing slapstick humor, Velma is sassing Mark Hamill's Joker, which okay. And even when the cutscene kind of devolves into more fan servicey stuff, like when the Iron Giant is blowing up a gremlin, it's fun. What isn't fun though is the tutorial we have to sit through. Alright, after that, it's bland, it's boring, and it's especially tedious for someone who's played the game before. And Multiversus does that mobile game thing where the game will just put you on rails right up until you finish doing all the tutorial things. Like, it won't let you quit out or do anything different than what the game wants you to do. Even locking out parts of the main menu, like trying to get you to follow that straight path. And like, the first thing I want to do when I open any game is go right for the settings, so I can just get everything running exactly the way I want. But most importantly is so I can balance my sound and music, because the settings are never right in any game that I open, and it's always the first thing, and I want to fix it straight up. The tutorial doesn't feel like it gives you everything that you're going to need going forward either. Despite the game being simple on the surface, these kinds of games tend to be very mechanically deep, and Multiversus is no exception. Like, luckily the information is there, it's just kind of spread all around the place. Like, there is a glossary that shows you like all the status effects, like armor, like knockback, any character that has a freeze, has a chicken thing, it's got it all there. Good luck fucking memorizing any of it. Honestly, that's like how the entire main menu and overall UI feels. Everything's there, but it's all over the shop. And it took me quite a bit of just exploring the menus just to make sense of where everything is, where to go for what, all the currencies, the badges, the perks, the missions. It's a lot, like a whole lot. We've got Gleamium, which is the stock standard like premium currency used to buy characters, the battle pass, cosmetics, etc. And then we have fighter tokens, which is a free currency that is used to unlock new characters that can be earned through missions and events and by playing the game, and can also be bought in certain packs for some reason. We also have perk points, which are used to unlock perks for your characters for their loadouts in PvP, not to be confused with the badges, which are used solely for PvE. Make sure you have the right color badges for which type of PvE event you're doing, otherwise they won't work. And we also have prestige points, which you acquire by just collecting random cosmetics and can be used to unlock stuff in its own separate store that Gleamium can't buy. Don't forget to keep track of your missions so you can collect your rewards from your dailies, your weeklies, your 2 separate login bonuses, whatever other events that are currently running, that each have their own pages with rewards, as well as keeping track of your character mastery, as well as your profile level. Oh, and your battle pass rewards as well. I mean, it all works, but it's just a lot. And especially, it's a lot to begin with. Because if you throw all of that information on top of just learning how to play the actual game itself, it becomes overwhelming. Especially with all the ways the different characters work and their status effects and armor, knockback, parrying. I don't think the tutorial ever explained parrying to me. And like, yeah, the actual game itself is a bit more straightforward, but it's easier if I talk about it if I split it up into its two modes. So firstly, we have PvP, and if you've ever played Smash or Brawlhalla or that one Nickelodeon game or the Cartoon Network one, then you know what you're in for. You duke it out in 1v1s or 2v2s to ring out your opponents, and the more damage you take, the easier it is to get knocked out. The combat is fun and satisfying, and I've seen a few people say it looks or feels slow, but I don't really think that, although the memes people have been making about it are really funny. I'll be upfront with you guys, I'm not really heavily into fighting games. Like, I enjoy them, but I don't get into all of the really intricate mechanics of these games. If you start throwing all of like the fighting game terminology at me, I'm just gonna get lost really quickly. Like, I enjoy these games on a more casual level. So I hope you believe me when I say that I think the base mechanics of this game are fun, but even I can tell that when I go into player versus player mode, most of the time I'm not actually versing real players, and it's easy to tell. It was something that I could tell long before the AI just stopped fighting each other and just stood still. Because real players tend to punish you for your mistake, and the real matches that I played tended to end in desynchronization and match disconnections. And so when I'm playing against bots, it's not fun, but the player games are fun, but only if they work. Which sucks, and I'm sure the developers are working on fixing it, but it's just kind of, it's a bit of an infuriating experience sometimes. Now, along with PvP, we also have local couch play and a training mode, and both suffer from the same problem, but for different reasons. Now, the problem is the character. Characters in this game take a long time to unlock, and I get it. The game is free to play, and the developers need to make their money somehow. But the fact that I can't try a character in training mode before I commit to buying is so ridiculous, and mostly because it takes so long to unlock characters. It makes the commitment so much higher, and if I pick wrong and I don't end up liking them, then I'm just stuck with this character for a long time. But what I find worse is that this pretty much kills any sort of way to enjoy local play. Like, this could be a fun party game, and I love the fact that this game has that kind of mode. But if I ever decide I want to play this game locally with some mates, then we're only going to have 4 to 5 characters to play with. Now, there are 2 options to fix this for me. First is I just buy all of the characters, and each character costs $15 to unlock, and I currently have 21 characters to unlock, which is 315 Australian dollars to unlock the full roster, or 4 copies of Super Smash Ultimate for the Switch. Now, the other alternative is that I just grind for the characters, which would take an unknown amount of time to get everyone. I got Taz in about 3 to 4 hours, but most of the currency used to buy characters was earned through challenges, and that's like dailies and weeklies. So who knows how long it'll take to actually get everyone, but I reckon by the time I unlocked everyone, I'd have clearly played more of this game than anyone else, and the skill difference would just make it like unviable for a fun couch co-op play game to play casually with your friends. That's shit. This is shit.
Executive decision, can we play a different game?
Yeah, and I know a lot of fighting games also suffer from the character unlock problem, but Multiversus just takes it to the extreme and essentially takes away any reason to actually have this mode to begin with. And it kind of just baffles me, but like, don't worry, it gets so much worse because we also have PvE, or Rifts is how the game likes to call it, and it's just, it's a good idea, but it's executed terribly. So Rifts are basically campaign missions that are very loosely stitched together by a story. You pretty much go down and complete a bunch of missions that are mostly just fights with different parameters added, and occasionally some little mini games here and there to break things up. These missions also have challenges that give you stars or something based on how many of them you beat. The 5th challenge in every mission is to play them with another player, and we'll come back to that. We also have gems, which I mentioned before, which are more or less perks, but only work in Rifts. But certain gems only work on certain missions, but they can also be leveled up by kind of don't know how they level up. Sometimes a box will show up after you win a battle and then they get XP. Sometimes it's a lot, and sometimes it's like fuck all. But there are certain milestones that you can hit by completing like the challenges that reward you with more gems, I think. It's all a bit vague. But some of the challenges themselves are locked behind playing, you know, a certain character. Like the first rift has a lot that requires you to play the Joker, who is the newest character and also the most expensive character to unlock. Like he's literally double the character currency of the other character. Or he's, you know, $3 more if you're paying real money, but you'll have to put more than that $3 on because, you know, the amount of bunches you can buy the currency and don't match what the character costs. Ugh. And sometimes entire missions can just be locked behind using a certain skin on a character, like the graphic t-shirt, which could be earnable for free somewhere. I actually don't know because there are so many reward tracks for everything that I just cannot keep track. Rifts are completable without all of the extra stuff, but it is also just not that great content. So there is currently an event in the game where if you beat the boss at the end of 20 rifts, then you can unlock Agent Smith. Each of the difficulties in the rifts are pretty much the same, just harder, and you're just doing the same missions over and over. Beating one rift is extremely tedious. Doing it again 5 times is kind of unreal. The problem is, if you're like me, then you probably smashed through the first 2 difficulties really fast and then got locked out of the 3rd difficulty because you didn't have gem level 4, which isn't having a level 4 gem, but having an average level of 4. If you smashed them out trying to beat all the bosses, then you'll be stuck and you'll have to go back and do some of the other missions and complete all the challenges so you can grind out more gem XP. And it's technically doable without spending money, but it would be a hell of a lot quicker if you bought the Joker from the store, or if you brought a friend along, also subjected them to this hellish, tedious bullshit. No, seriously, let me put this into perspective. Let's say there is a mission and the challenges are to do the mission with a detective character and a DC character. Well, that character is obviously Batman, but I don't have Batman. I have Shaggy, who's a detective, and I also have Wonder Woman, who is a DC character. So I'll need to do the mission twice. But the challenges are going to be the same on the next difficulty up, and there are 5 difficulties in total. So instead of doing this mission 5 times, I need to do it 10 times overall. But there are a ton of other missions that do this same thing. And it would be fine if the challenges were, you know, skill-based. And some of them are, and there would be more of a sense of accomplishment for beating them, and the grind wouldn't feel as tedious if it was based on me completing these via skill, rather than just owning the correct characters. So it just becomes a matter of paying to be able to not grind as much over and over again. But the thing is, why would you even bother, you know, paying to try and skip the grind when you can just outright buy the gem XP from the store? But we're not even done here, because the final difficulty of the rifts has a live system, and you only have a limited amount of lives per day, but don't worry, because you can purchase more of them. Like, fuck me, is this even a video game anymore? Like, seriously, what is this shit? At what part do you expect people to even want to play this game? Like, if you can just skip all of it. Man, I went into this game really wanting to love it. I really did. But like, buried underneath all of this bullshit, I can see there is a game here that I want to play. There is a colourful cast of characters with movesets that not only feel genuine to the characters, but they also feel like they were made with care. Like Jason from Friday the 13th, and having one of his special moves be like stuffing your enemies into a sleeping bag and just slamming them around is not something you come up with unless you know and love that character. You know, or doing the tornado spin as Taz, or riding Acme rockets as Bugs Bunny. These characters and their movesets, they're lovingly crafted. But if you come into this free-to-play game with the intention of not paying any money, then the game will treat you with utter disdain and throw you into a whirlwind of grindy bullshit content that barely feels like a game. Yes, the PvP is very fun when it works. The PvE can be fun in small doses, but the game just expects you to grind it out, especially if you want all the rewards from all the timed events. I'm not mad that a free-to-play game has microtransactions. I'm mad that this game thinks that their microtransactions are worth it. If the game was less aggressive with the monetization, I'd be more inclined to spend money on a skin or two, but the egregiousness of it all makes me not want to spend any money on it out of pure spite. In the end, I do not recommend Multiversus. I think there is fun to be had here, but it's not enough to be worth wading through all of this bullshit for. Maybe if you were a platform fighter fan, you might enjoy some of this, but just don't spend any money on it. It does not deserve it. Thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like, and if you are new, please consider subscribing. If you have played Multiversus, let me know what you thought in the comments. I I really didn't want to make a second negative video in a row, but here we are. I should have one more video out before we cover the Summer Games Fest, and hopefully it'll be a feel-good story. Look, only time will tell. Thanks to my YouTube members, Controlled Killer and Dr. Hoovian too. If you feel like my content is worth supporting financially, the option is there, and while I can't offer too much at the moment, you do get a little badge next to your name in the comments, and you'll also get your name in the credits of each video as a personal thank you. I also have a community Discord server which is free to enter, and where you can suggest videos or chat with me or anyone else around the community. I also have a Steam curator page, and if you're interested in diving into more of my video game takes that might not make it into a full video, links to everything in the description of the video. Thank you so much for watching again. I'll see you all next time. See ya.